Recording in progress.
Good volume.
We good to go? All right, who wants to read our little notice?
Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 29, 2023 order extending the temporary provisions pertaining to the open meeting law, this meeting of the Sutton Planning Board is in a hybrid format and is being recorded. Recording will be available on the town's website and YouTube channel.
All right, let's take a roll call for tonight.
Bob Lodge is here.
Bill Talcott, present.
Scott Paul here.
Wally Baker here.
Mike Egan here.
Erica McCollum here.
All right, this is the planning board meeting on November 4th, 2024, 7 o'clock. The first order of business is a public hearing, 9 Harback Road, DeLeo Gas. Somebody read that?
Yes. Is that it? In accordance with the provisions of the Sutton zoning bylaws, section, what is that, 4C, site plan review, the planning board will hold a public hearing on the application of Paul DeLeo, manager of DeLeo Gas of Worcester, Mass., for their property located at 9 Harback Road. The application proposes to utilize the site for portions of the operations of this service business, including but not limited to housing of vehicles and equipment at the location.
Are the applicants here tonight? So
Good
if you'd
evening,
like,
all.
make your presentation, introduce yourself, and let us know what you're doing.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good. My name is Michael Dryden. I'm a senior project manager with Allen Engineering. I'm here this evening on behalf of the owner applicant, DeLeo Gas, and Paul DeLeo is joining me this evening, manager, if I'm not mistaken. Is that your title? We are here this evening to seek site plan approval, essentially for a change in use for the property at 9 Harback Road. There are absolutely no physical changes proposed at this site to present to you this evening. It's simply a change in use and feedback there. Again, just a change in use, and it has been determined by the building inspector that the new use will be categorized as a service company, as opposed to what is there today, sort of, I guess you'd call it a generic industrial use, for lack of a better characterization. The existing site at 9 Harback Road, map 10, parcel 131, contains 2 acres. And do we have a drawing that we can?
Again,
Thank you very much, Jen.
I don't know if this is the updated one or not, but this is what's out there. So,
It looks like that is the updated plan.
Awesome.
If there's a revision just in the lower right of the title block, I think it is, but I just want to make sure as I talk through it.
Yep.
Yes, there's a revision indicated. Great. That is the latest plan, dated the 30th. So it's 2.0 acres. It's located entirely within the industrial zoning district. Abutting uses to the north and west, those are essentially undeveloped vacant property, wooded areas. To the south and east are industrial uses, and by the way, north, as you can see, the arrow there is sort of up to the left of the page for orientation purposes. Harback Road is to the right of the page. The property itself is outlined in a bold black line, the rectangular shaped property. Existing improvements on the site, there's a single steel building. The footprint's about 7,600 square feet. I believe there's an office trailer there today, Paul, correct?
Out front, correct.
Out front, yep.
Yep.
There's some concrete slabs, numerous paved areas. There's a single curb cut along the frontage of the property to the right of the page. So as I mentioned, the proposed site plan is really the existing site plan. There are no changes whatsoever proposed. There's no new lighting, no waste disposal, no new impervious area, no construction, no earth opening of any kind. The sole purpose of this site plan, again, is because of the change of use, and what the applicant proposes to do is park vehicles and store propane tanks on the site. And there are 2 areas noted on the plan, those boxes that Jen is outlining, one there and one there. Those two general areas, that paved area, is essentially where that storage will take place. Because there are no changes to the existing site plan, we have requested a number of waivers that are associated with site plan approval, which, as you know, are typically related to new projects or significant alterations to existing projects. And not to beat a dead horse here, but we are making no changes whatsoever. So I can go through each and every one of these waivers if you like. There are 5 of them, I believe. We've whittled it down to 5. I think the list was a little bit longer when we started.
Those are actually, you'll see those on the project narrative dated November 4th. You won't see them in the meeting notes or on my review email. So you're going to need to refer to this as,
Page 2.
at page 2, as Michael goes through those.
I'll walk you through as quickly as I possibly can.
So before you start, you're not gonna be storing any propane like you do over on the other street? You have propane in another location?
So we will be storing propane, but they'll be in propane trucks. In terms of, sorry, is there an issue with my microphone?
No, she's
Oh, okay.
No, she's telling him.
talking into this thing.
Oh, okay, sorry. So there will be propane stored in propane trucks and propane trailers. The propane tanks that are listed next to the building, those are empty propane tanks ready for resale. Those won't have any propane in it. So that's gonna require the flammable storage application, which has been submitted to the fire department already and for the storage of the propane trucks themselves. So hopefully if we get site plan review approved today, that would be the next step for us, is to go for the flammable storage application, which again has already kind of been half submitted, and that will come in line after this.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll walk you through the waivers quickly. Waiver number 1, Article 4C, 4G, the location, height, and intensity of all external lighting fixtures, illumination and methods. No changes are being made to the existing lighting. There's no proposed lighting, so the rationale there is to request a waiver, clearly. Again, I'll just move through these very quickly. On page 3, waiver number 2, Article 4C, 4I, the location of all present and proposed utility systems. Again, no changes being made. All the existing utilities where known to exist on the site are shown on the plan. Waiver number 3, Article 4C, 4J, plans to prevent the pollution of surface water or groundwater, erosion of soils. I can go through this verbatim, but it's essentially the stormwater management aspect. And there are existing drainage structures on the site. Again, we're not changing impervious area. All the existing drainage structures will remain in place, so there's a waiver respectfully requested for that. Waiver number 4, Article 4C4N, traffic flow patterns, certainly not changing anything on the site in terms of how traffic flows. The curb cut will remain exactly as it is today. And I believe, in having a brief conversation with Paul before this hearing, the traffic is likely to be less than what was there with the previous use. Finally, waiver number 5, 4C, 4P, architectural elevation plans at a scale adequate to show required detail. Clearly, no changes being proposed to the building at this time. We did add, at the request of Jan at one point, the location of the doors and the fenestration on the existing building, so that's been added to the revised plans. That concludes the list of 5 waivers.
So this site has water and sewer provided?
It has a well, sewer,
I believe it is sewered, but,
No, it's septic.
it is septic, you're right. 'cause
Septic and well.
something well
Robin indicated where it was. It's where the box is in the center of the site.
in the front, here, Hardback Road.
Here,
The box in the middle of the site?
this one?
My understanding is the approximate location is inside of the L there, but I could be mistaken.
Yeah, these are your sewer manhole.
Monitoring
your-
wells.
You got a manhole, you got some covers here, so in this area, you're saying? It's not running out on the ground. put it that way.
It's certainly not.
And there's no sewer line on this street, so.
So you don't know where that, necessarily, you don't know where that is, and you haven't shown it on the plan.
Well, he's got the
Well,
manhole.
the surface structures are shown on the
Are
plan,
shown,
as
yeah.
Jen had pointed out.
Right
Okay.
here, you've got the manhole and the sewer manhole right here,
Yes, I believe that's where it is.
right there.
And just given the use of this building, it would not be a sizable septic system, it would be relatively small in nature.
How about the well?
The well is way over here. See it down here on the
Right at
tree
the edge
line?
of the wetland.
And we assume the groundwater or the surface waters are flowing correctly and through the stream and doing what they're supposed to do.
There's no obvious signs of any erosion or scouring or anything of that nature. The drainage structures all seem to be operating and functioning properly.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
How many employees would you see working at this site?
So at first, we would probably see 2 to 3, and they would just be delivery drivers. So they would be starting there in the morning, jumping in their delivery truck, delivering all day long, and then coming back at the end of the day. So to start, I would say 2 to 3. At max, I would say 4 to 5.
And so your trucks will fill up on Providence Road?
Correct.
And then go over there,
Correct. Yep.
delivery in the morning or whenever?
Sleep at night there. Yep.
Not a bad plan.
Yeah. Yep.
And how big are the tanks that are being stored here in general?
So those will be residential size tanks, so they could range from 100 gallon to 500 gallon. The largest would be a 1,000 gallon tank.
Okay. And at that storage, they're empty, they're not
Empty,
pressurized at that point.
Correct. Vacuums purged, so there's no product in them.
Okay. Any other questions? Any questions from the public here tonight? Any questions from people on Zoom? Nobody there.
Just one follow-up I just had
Go
in my
ahead.
head. How many vehicles are we talking about, like, being stored there?
So for the flammable storage license, we're going for kind of the max amount, so we can kind of grow into the space. I think the maximum amount of trucks that we put on that application was 5.
Okay.
So at max, I would say that's peak winter, February, we potentially could be 5 delivery drivers there. They'll each have their own individual vehicle, but as they're pulling in, another vehicle's gonna be moving out.
So they'll pull their, drop off their car, get a
Correct.
vehicle, go off, do their boot, come
Yes,
back, and
correct. Yep.
obvious, I mean.
Trip generation is really low at this site.
Anything else? We have a few comments, I think, here from
The tax collector did note that they do not owe any taxes for this site, and the police department responded there are no public safety concerns or recommendations from the police department at this time. And per my memo, all of the comments from my original review memo have been addressed.
Oh, good.
any other comments? We want to take action?
So the first thing would be to do the waiver requests. And as Mr. Dryden noted, the main motion before the board, or the main requested action is site plan approval. So, so the first waiver request was from 4C, 4G, and that was to not, so they've showed the lighting locations. There are 3 light poles on the plan, but they're requesting a waiver to not do the photometrics, do the what the lighting looks like, because they're not doing anything new, and they're not proposing any changes, and there haven't been any reported issues with those in all the years they've been there. And that would be the same with utilities, the same with drainage, and the same with architecture. I don't know if you want to handle those all at once, and then traffic flow is just a little bit different.
I'll make a motion, I can do them all, if I want to.
Except for traffic flow, so 4C, 4G, I, J, and P are all pretty much the same waiver.
Okay. Well, I make a motion that we grant a waiver for the strict compliance for Article 4C, 4G, 4C, 4I, and is there one more?
Yep, J and P.
Say that again?
Letter J and letter P.
Gotcha. Okay. That's the motion.
I second it.
Okay, so we're talking about those four only, and we'll talk about the traffic patterns
Right.
next. Any other discussion about lights, utilities, groundwater and surface waters, or architectural elevation plans?
No, I mean, obviously, it looks like, there's no significant changes to any of those in this. It's kind of what's already there and has been working, so I don't see any reason to not grant them.
So we typically always would have an order of conditions if we approve this, that we, if lights become a problem, we would,
And I've proposed that in the minimum conditions.
we may circle back on that. If there's complaints about lighting, then we may circle back on that. Otherwise, any other comments? All in favor?
Well, hang on one sec, Scott.
Wait.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we address in potential conditions. So lights, okay, great, bam. What was the next one?
Utilities.
Utilities.
Right.
And I know the site has been used, but the whole idea of the site plan review is, things could have changed over the years, and it might not be kosher. And I understand it has been used, but I think we should at least get a catch-all for each one of these items in the order of conditions.
You mean in the decision? The final decision, or while you're voting on the waiver?
Maybe in the final decision.
Okay.
Make sure we address, obviously the light is, I'm looking for the
That's in there, yeah.
potential, okay. And can we add in for the stormwater management?
So what do you want it to say? Like, so if any issues arise relative to utilities or drainage, the board reserves the right to require
Remedial action.
remedial action from the applicant.
Right.
Okay. Add that?
And what's the other one? Well, there's not much we can do about architectural.
Nope.
And
Well, utilities, so we assume, the utilities are,
I put that in there, but yeah, if somebody notices an issue with utilities, with sewerage or anything else, anything leaching out, the Board of Health has the authority to jump all over that, but we could certainly kick that process into gear.
okay.
So add
Deal.
that as a condition.
anything else? Do we have a motion and a second for those four waivers? All in favor?
Aye. Bob Largis.
Bill Talcott, aye.
Scott Paul, aye.
Wally Baker, aye.
Mike Gagan, aye.
Erica McCollum, aye.
And Mike, if you just want to roll over that, why you haven't shown traffic flow on the plan. I think you've touched on it a little bit in terms of the volume or lack thereof, but I think that was it.
Not really, yeah, I'm not sure what else to add. It's, again, the existing curb cut's gonna stay the same, all the flow patterns are the same. And I don't wanna go on record to say that it's a reduction, but I'm fairly comfortable saying that based on what you heard tonight, about trip generation, this is likely a significant reduction in trip generation.
You may or may
It's on the
not
site.
recall the immediate past user was the LLC that was the staging for things like concerts at Fenway Park. So there was more kind of intermittent traffic as opposed to daily traffic. But when there was traffic, there was large tractor trailers
trailers, right.
pulling in, loading up all the staging and going off to Boston University to set up for graduation or going to Fenway to set up for a concert or, so it may have been a little, what may not have been daily, but it was certainly more intense. And a totally different kind of vehicles,
And bigger vehicles.
much
Yeah,
bigger.
if you look at Street View, you'll see tractor trailers along the entire frontage of the site, all the trailers that were parked there.
Yeah.
That was a regular occurrence.
And having to get up onto the highway at that point.
Just something that just hit me if I could. So the trucks we were talking about were the smaller propane trucks that will go to houses to make deliveries.
Correct.
But then you also have some propane tanks there.
Correct.
Is there separate vehicles that pick them up and move them? or-
Yeah, so they're
Another-
typically smaller commercial trucks, so like Dodge heavy-duty trucks that
Okay.
have cranes on them. Again, this is gonna be kind of more of like an overflow, larger storage location where our service department isn't gonna be going in there and picking up tanks daily
Okay,
to install them. Our main location is in Worcester, where our service department works out of, where we
Okay, okay.
prep the tanks and get them ready to get out. This is somewhat of an overflow
Okay.
for us, so bulk tanks will get delivered from an 18-wheeler, full truckloads, and they'll sit there until we kind of need to restock at our Worcester location,
Yeah.
where we'll pick up multiple at a time and then kind of reload that way.
okay. Bringing them
and-
actually to the Worcester location, not to houses.
Correct.
The
yes,
tanks like
yes.
that, yeah.
For now,
For
yes,
now,
for
yeah.
now, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, this is definitely like a stepping stone for us. This is a property that hopefully we can kind of build into. But for now, the most important thing for us is really the delivery trucks being there to service the surrounding areas. And then just to speak on the traffic, with the previous company that was there, all those 18-wheelers that were getting loaded, that was all very close to Harback Road, because there was a staging set up. All of our traffic is gonna be behind that gated fence, which is 30 to 40 feet off of Harback Road. So there's not gonna be any traffic going on immediately right next to Harback Road, where before they were backing into that location and being kind of right up against Harback Road.
They
So
were actually using the roadway
yeah,
to back up.
exactly. So there's a nice gated privacy fence that is closed where we can access the back of the building, and essentially you really don't see much from the street in terms of anything that's beyond that fence. So we plan on kind of keeping it
Okay.
that way.
So we need to make a motion and on this waiver
In the traffic, yep.
on traffic.
So granting the waiver from them, basically having to show traffic flow on the site plan because hasn't changed, it won't change, other than the fact that it's gotten much reduced and will be fully contained within the site.
Yes, correct.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
All right, motion's been made to grant the waiver for traffic flow patterns within the site and et cetera. Any
Yeah.
other questions, comments?
Just to make a note for the record, it's Article 4C4N is the one.
Call for a
We
vote.
good? Call for a vote.
Bob Lodges, aye.
Bill Talcott, aye.
Scott Paul, aye.
Wally Baker, aye.
Mike Gagan, aye.
Rebecca McCollum, aye.
Okay, so, next action is to approve this site plan review or to not approve this site plan review.
Well, I make a motion to approve the site plan review with the following conditions. That all required approvals and/or permits shall be received from applicable permitting authorities, especially the fire department. Prior to issuance of permits for signage at the site, the applicant shall submit a compliance sign design and receive approval from the planning board. And prior to the use of the existing building on the site, security systems, knock boxes, reflective door numbering, and all necessary amplifiers shall be installed if as required by the police and fire department. And I think we addressed the site maintenance. Should I put that in?
Read it.
Okay, site maintenance. The applicant shall ensure the upkeep and functionality of the site drainage systems.
Did you read the first
Yeah.
three? Did you know? I don't think you.
Missing some, I think.
First
I
three
thought
on
we
top.
took care of that. Oh, maybe.
We have to read them in, I think.
Oh,
Read them.
okay, general. The board reserves the right to review lighting and require adjustments if they find it to be a danger or nuisance. The board reserves the right to review and assess noise complaints related to on-site operations. If the applicant/operator fails to cure or remedy a complaint, the board deems it to be valid within a reasonable time as determined by the board. The board reserves the right to require the applicant and/or operator to provide adequate mitigation. Use of any portion of the site or any structures on the site for any business other than DeLeo Gas shall not be allowed unless approved by the planning board through the applicable permit process. Done.
We had something that Bill wanted to add.
Was for the, what was it?
That was the, with respect to utilities and drainage, the board reserves the right
Oh,
to review and have the applicant address any issues if they arise with respect to utility and drainage.
Is that all right?
Yes.
maybe we could just add in a sentence on general, number 2.
Oh,
Okay.
added on to number 2?
Yeah, just say especially related to drainage and also including drainage and,
So number 2, noise complaints, utility issues, or drainage issues?
Yeah.
Okay. Add to number 2.
Okay,
Will
we have
do.
the motion, we have a second.
do you have a second?
Got a second?
That was a Wally motion, a Bob
Bob, yep.
second.
Any other discussion? All right, a vote?
Bob Largis, aye.
Bill Talcott, aye.
Scott Paul, aye.
Wally Baker, aye.
Mike Gagan, aye.
Erica McCollum, aye.
Okay,
Good job.
close the meeting.
Make a motion to close the hearing.
I'll second it. Mike Gagan.
Roll call. Vote.
Bob Largis, closed.
Bill Talcott, aye.
Scott Paul, aye.
Wally Baker, aye.
Mike Gagan, aye.
Erica McCollum, aye.
Okay.
Jen, is this,
Gentlemen?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Welcome.
it.
Thank you.
Good luck.
You mean unoccupied?
Yeah.
I don't know.
has it been unoccupied, Jen, this parcel?
They just moved
No,
out.
this parcel?
Yeah.
No, for a brief period, it was previously relatively, well, not that long ago, occupied by the staging company with all their staging equipment. That's, was across the street.
Okay, the next order of business is a public hearing on a special permit freestanding sign at 4 Uxbridge Road.
Please speak into the microphone so that everybody can hear you out in Zoom land.
Smart Alec. Yes, ma'am.
You want me to read the notice, though?
Yes,
Yes, we have to do
absolutely.
that first. Hang on.
Yeah, in accordance with the provisions of the Sutton zoning bylaws, section 4A2B3, signs, exceptions, the planning board will hold a public hearing on an application of Pam Nichols, Communications Director, Town of Sutton, Mass, for town property at 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton Town Hall. The applicant requests a special permit to deviate from the general guidelines for signs to install a freestanding internally illuminated message board of approximately 24 square foot at this location. The hearing is scheduled to take place on November 4th, 2024 at 7:15 PM.
Pam, if you can just let me know when you want me to share anything to the screen.
Sure.
We can't do both of these together, can we, Jen?
You can if you want. I would suggest you do town hall, and then you do the two signs at the school together. I think she'll cover a lot of it in one.
Yeah, and,
Okay.
so I'm Pam Nichols, 167 Burbank Road, Sutton, representing the town of Sutton in my role as communications director. Just for your information, Dan Durgan is here from the school as well for the other two applications. So in fiscal year 2025, the capital plan funded an electronic messaging center for the town hall and the middle school, high school. We have been moving forward and have submitted these special applications for that. We are interested in the signs. Jen is displaying our current sign at the town of Sutton, and the school ones are in just about the same kind of condition. So our goal with these signs is something with more an ability for instant updates, increased visibility, and improved community engagement. And that is our proposed. We've been doing some research with vendors, and initially we were going to do two signs, but it turns out money-wise that we potentially could have three, and we've decided the best option to proceed with that is to do two signs at the school, one at each, the main one at Putnam Hill and Boston Road, and then further down for the lower level schools. We do have a long-term plan. We'd like to, eventually add signs potentially in Manchagan, Wilkinsonville. But we thought those were the best two to move forward with, not do one village and not the other at this point in time. So that being said, with three, we move forward with the bid process. So we don't have a specific vendor. Harrison McKinley, who's the business manager and chief procurement officer at the school, has started a bid process, and we should have that completed within the next week or so. So we don't have a specific vendor, but we kind of give you a gist of what we'd like to anticipate for what it would look like in the future.
That's the other side.
Those are the other signs. That's at the Early Learning Center.
So is that sign gonna disappear, these?
Actually, with the school, the one at the town hall will be a whole revamped sign, but the goal at the middle school, high school is to actually utilize, and that was one of the ways that we saved money, is to utilize the stone base that's exists now. So it will be very similar, and it will just be an electronic, it does need some repair and a new, I don't know what the top thing is called, but, so yeah, we'll be looking to, those will look very similar to what is existing.
These are electronic boards?
And they are.
So I can show
I
you.
have, I went around and took some examples. There's several vendors. They vary in price range and different, pixels and that kind of stuff. As I said, without the bid process, we don't have the specifics necessarily for that, but I'm gonna have Jen share some examples of there's one in Northbridge, as well as Millbury.
So that's.
And we had a demonstration,
Oh,
so.
why did it not? Okay, hold on. Top share. Start share. Okay, I can, hold on a moment. One moment, please.
I have to jump back in my other chair, though.
This is
I'm
the
like,
screen. Share. Entire screen. Document screen. It's just not letting me see my desktop. Ah, there
there
it
you
is.
go.
All right.
So this is the Cirrus brand. It's at Mike Lynch, if anybody wants to take a ride by. It's on the 146 northbound. He runs, uses various colors. I think I gave a couple of examples. It's really hard because the screen changes to try to catch the picture just at the right moment. But that's like the black and white setting with the weather, that kind of information. And then, like that was their I tried to catch like the different kind of colors that you could use for that. If you want to show Millbury next. This is, I just want to look at my notes. Hold on a sec.
You can do any color.
Yeah, Northbridge has Watchfire, which is probably the most
Yeah, it's
high-end and expensive, and they just use it in black and white. So Jim's kind of leaning towards that, but I think if you're gonna go,
If you're gonna go, you might as well go, because
Go
I
big.
got one, and I went to the color, it's not the
and we're
Watchfire.
certainly willing to test it
Northbridge.
out, and we're gonna have to think about, we will not, I know the town of Millbury runs theirs 24/7, but we are not intending to do that in any fashion. And for Northbridge, they run their 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., and even to me, 10 p.m. seems kind of late, because I just don't think there's that traffic out here at 10 p.m. So to finish that thought, Millbury is a company called Optech. Their version is quite a bit old, like that sign's been there for a while, so I think the lights are older and less pleasant to look at than what Optech looks like now. We had a couple of demos come out. They bring trucks with the sign samples, so
Is that what this
those are
was?
available too, yeah. So that was like what the Optech sign on the current view was. Like, it's not crazy bright. Jen suggested that I get it at night, but I just didn't have an opportunity to do that, but I can certainly do that for you guys if you are
Well, the-
interested.
I'm assuming, but you would need to verify, that you could dim these or adjust the wattage on these? Could
It's
you,
not
or-
a wattage necessarily, but we can certainly play with the colors and, like what, if it just turned out to be too much. And in terms of all the sign locations, they would pretty much be in their current location. So the one here would just be one-sided. The one at the school would be two-sided as it is, currently, at both of those locations.
So you say this is, you're proposing 24 square feet. How big is that?
The town of Northbridge one, off the top of my head, it was behind the fence, I would say is actually bigger than ours.
So you're
The one
doing,
at the school is
4 by
estimated
6?
to be 4 by 6.
4 by 6.
And then the ones at the school, in order to fit into the existing base that's there, is more in the 3 by 8. That's not an exact thing, but it would basically be what's there now, except electronic.
so does this one, well, this one at the town hall has the little person standing next to it, so we're just talking about the actual sign face, not the framing.
No, it would be a
Yes.
bigger sign, but what would show as the display would be the size
The
of
4
what's
by
currently
6.
out there.
So the same size as this,
Yes.
okay. So
But
no
the
change in
sign
size.
itself is
right.
taller with the
Yeah, with the,
the header and
yeah.
seal below.
I was,
Because I can reach the top of the one that's out there because I've been out there on a regular basis lifting
Holding
the
it open.
plexiglass.
I'm
And
done, we used to do that too.
I was just wondering, like, on the one on the comp right outside here, if there was any thought given to make it two-sided, only because if you angled it coming up or down Boston Road, either way you'd see it, you know?
I
don't
think,
know.
Jen and I put our heads together about that. And I feel like that might be too much of a change, and then logistically out there with the rock the way it is. Like, I don't know about moving that, and then I think you'd really lose your Uxbridge Road Singletary
Okay.
vision.
So as soon as, yeah,
Like, the second
Okay,
you
no, I
turn
just,
that,
you know.
with a four-way intersection, there's a downside no matter what.
Right.
Yeah.
no, I
So right
agree,
now,
right.
you see it coming west and coming south. So if you turn it the other way, you'd lose it coming north and south. You'd pick it up east and west. So yeah, you're losing two directions no matter how you do it. So,
I mean, I think it's a nice upgrade, you know? I mean, it's needed, and it's just, easier to see,
Yeah.
what's there. I mean, to me, instead of having, as you read it down, it, takes a few moments to stop and read it all, where that would, I think would be much more visible.
Yeah.
And
And we'll have to,
effective, you know?
it will be Christine and I, in theory, messaging there, so we're just gonna have to experiment with, like the benefit of Millbury's sign is that it's a actual stoplight, so people are committed.
Right.
So we're gonna have, we're thinking like we have to be pretty brief, and maybe we can
Right.
have the ability to change the algorithms or,
Right.
beef up for school
Yep.
pickup
Yeah.
and drop-off times and
Yeah.
whatnot.
My
so.
only other quick comment was, I know I think you had put hours of operation, like,
So, Millbury runs theirs 24/7,
Yep.
but I think that would be overkill
Right.
here in
The
our
only th-
location.
The only thing I would put in there possibly would be, on an exception-based reason, if there was some fire department
Urgent.
wanted urgent care of
Absolutely.
something, I think it could be 24
That's a
hours for
great,
that couple
that's a great
days.
suggestion, yeah.
The fire thing going on with the, burning outside, I don't know, just something that if it really required an urgent notice, it's a a lot of people pass through it. I think it'd be,
Okay, that's a
I
good idea.
personally would think it would be
Uh,
worth allowable for exception,
For-
like something like that.
Okay,
So like a 6 AM to 9 PM unless there's an urgent,
Given by the emergency department, that really needs
Right.
a message out. I mean, if they're, sending residents a message, like you get on
Or
your
like a
phone
water
and it alerts,
situation,
something
no
like
drink,
that, you may wanna.
oil situation or
that,
something like
yeah.
that.
You had a question, go ahead.
I like the old one. So.
I have no doubt about
and-
that,
and-
Bob.
And I have to, I realize that the electronic, it's all moving fast, and it's me personally who doesn't use all that stuff. Everyone gets plenty of information over their phones and everything else now. And I miss the old one personally, so I'm wrestling, because I'm on the planning board, I have to do what's best for the town.
Mhm.
But I really like the old ones, and it's it's overkill. And if we start now, when are we gonna end? If other people come before us, and they wanna do stuff like this too, we have to say yes. So I wrestle. But that's me personally.
Can
I
see
like
that,
it.
Scott? Is that the bylaw?
Yeah, so Jen, can we just, since we haven't looked at the sign bylaw in a while,
okay. Let us all be tortured together.
this is probably stretching it?
Oh, didn't we,
No, so if you go to the sign bylaw, section 4A, 2B3, town meeting specifically voted to allow Pam or the town to do exactly what is being done tonight, to apply for a special permit, to deviate from the general criteria of the sign bylaw. In this case, she's deviating from internal illumination in the residential district, deviating from the size of the sign, because in the residential district, signs are limited to 12 square feet, and the changeable message ability. Those are the three things she's asking for a deviation for in these applications. Nothing else that I can think of, right? Those are the three?
I think that's what we thought about.
Yep. So, and town meeting voted, that was only like a year or two
Yeah.
ago, that
So
town meeting
even though it
voted
seems like we're moving fast, this has actually been
a while. And
a
these are
planned-out
for,
process.
and this is only for government and nonprofit signs. It's not for commercial signs or any other signs, just for government and nonprofit signage,
Let me make sure all that's in the notes.
which is generally exempt, period,
Yeah.
from sign permitting.
That's what I thought.
But, to Bob's point,
Church can do
even
it.
things governments need to do, need a check on them. We still have to go through site plan review when we do fire stations or schools. So, if we're gonna deviate from everybody else's standard on the signs, this is the process, the special permit process.
But we didn't limit the size for the governmental units, or.
We did not
No.
limit a size. And again, I think what you're saying, Pam, is keeping all the same sizes that currently exist in terms of the sign face. The cabinet would be larger at the town hall and more zhuzhy, because even though Bob likes this one, this is a little more,
I don't know if it's in here, but I have one of these signs at work, and we got the biggest one we could possibly get with the color. And we started off leaving it on just for working hours, 9 in the morning to 11 at night. But then we found, what the heck, why don't you just leave it on? Because people do travel all the time. And Worcester, believe it or not, you have to have the same, they call them slides, you have to have the same slide up for 7 or 9 seconds.
yeah.
So you can't just keep bam,
Yeah.
bam, bam. And we cheat on it. I think we do like 4 or 5 seconds. But,
Put that phone number in.
but, no, I think they're a good idea, and I don't have any problem with them. And 24 square feet doesn't seem outlandish to me. Because like Worcester, you're limited to, I think it was 21, 22. I even went in front of the ZBA to try to get a bigger one. They shot me down.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the public here?
Oh, can you see on Zoom?
Can you identify
Um,
yourself?
Got one in person, and then we'll check with Zoom again.
Robert Nunnemacher, 24 Singletary Ave. I always object to bylaw changes that allow the town or the government to do something that is different than what everybody else in the world is required to do. And this is an example of everybody else has to have a certain size sign and go through all these different things, and we're not doing it for the town. In particular, this sign, I drive through the center of Millbury probably a couple thousand times in the afternoon since that sign has been installed there. I'm looking at the lights, I'm looking at the cars and the traffic. I don't really get to see much of the sign, and to me, it's real difficult to see, and I rarely can get what it's trying to tell me. I think of a sign here in the center. I think there's only 3 of us here that regularly go through the center that would look at that. How many people in the town actually goes through that intersection and would have time to read it while they're trying to make a turn and dodge the traffic there? I think that the simplicity of the present sign, like Bob said, is easy to read and understand and move on. Even worse, the intersection of Putnam Hill Road and Boston Road, I don't think people get to really get a long look at that sign. So the messages that are probably going to be put up there are not going to go out to the public like they should be doing. I just think this is a waste of money.
Change the camera angle.
You had some, you want to say something, though?
In response to Mr. Nunnemacher?
If you want, you don't
I
have to.
actually believe that if you are familiar with the center of town during the school commute in the morning, there's quite a bit of traffic going in both ways. People bringing their kids to school and returning. There's actually quite a bit of time at the stop signs there. And we will not, this is just an added way to engage the community. We're certainly going to continue with our code red messaging and the website and the Facebook posts and different things. We're just always trying to improve our processes, so.
Any other comments here? Anybody on?
If anybody on Zoom would like to speak, either use the raise your hand function. If you cannot find that, if you can just unmute and say hello. Any comments on the town hall sign or the school sign, I guess? Though we need to read that hearing notice separately. So town hall sign, ideally.
Right now, we're talking about the school only.
No,
Right.
right now, we're
Just the town.
just the
separate.
town
You
hall
gotta-
right now.
No separate hearing.
We start out with the town. Okay.
Yep.
I don't see any hands raised out there.
I don't.
All righty.
Oh, yeah. Any other comments, any thoughts, any emotions? Any other questions?
I mean, I'll make the motion to approve the special permit for an approximate 24-foot square foot internally illuminated changeable message board at 4 Uxbridge Road with the following conditions. After installation, the planning board will review the lighting level and require adjustment if the level is found to interfere with traffic safety or found to not be appropriate for the surrounding residential structures landscapes. Number 2, final construction prints shall be submitted to the planning board to determine if they are substantially in accordance with the design and size presented at public hearing. If they are not, a new hearing will be required.
Second.
All right, so this is,
Now Pam, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, Pam, I thought you said that you couldn't necessarily lower lighting level, like foot candles coming out of the light, but you may be able to adjust colors and stuff.
It will be dependent on vendor,
Okay,
but we're proceeding with caution and want to be good neighbors to the residential
okay,
area.
all righty.
Yeah, you can't drop the foot candles, but you can put up a different color.
Yeah.
It's basically what you do, is take something off the internet and you post it up there. And whatever that color comes through as. You can tweak
And
colors.
it'll be like, we're trying, we're really working on our branding and messaging, so it will be things that we are utilizing now. Christine is a Canva whiz, and she can we can, study how different colors work.
Great.
I wonder if we want to, so we've made the motion and made a second. I wonder if there should be some discussion or approval based on time limitations for operation of this sign?
Did you want the 6 to 9 with exceptions for emergency public safety?
6 AM to 9 PM?
Correct.
I think that's fine. I mean, I don't think it should be less than that. I mean,
I don't think there should be any limitations.
I don't, yeah.
You don't think so?
It's up to you guys. It's not in the motion right now, unless
Not in the
the motion
motion.
and second.
Right. So if it's not something to include, and we don't have any other comments or questions, we'll go forward with the vote. Okay? Roll call vote.
Bob Rogers, no.
Bill Talcott, aye.
Scott Paul, aye.
Wally Baker, aye.
Mike Gagan, aye.
Erica McCollum, aye.
And I
And-
think I have your reasoning, Bob.
Make a
Motion to close the hearing.
second.
Roll call.
Bob Rogers, aye.
Bill Talcott, aye.
Scott Paul, aye.
Wally Baker, aye.
Mike Gagan, aye.
Erica McCollum, aye.
All right, now you just need to technically read in that second notice.
I'll do that again, Scott, if you want. In accordance with the provisions of the Sutton zoning bylaws, section 4A2B3, signs, exceptions, the planning board will hold a public hearing on the application of Pam Nichols, Communications Director, Town of Sutton, Mass., for town property at 383 and 409 Boston Road, the Sutton School Complex. The application requests a special permit to deviate from the general guidelines for signs to install a freestanding internally illuminated message board sign of approximately 35 square foot at each of these locations. The hearing is scheduled to take place on November 4th, 2024 at 7:25 PM.
All right. So I'm just gonna show you those ones.
This is the footage.
I'm just gonna show you those ones one more time and see if you have additional questions or comments.
It says 35.
So
Yeah, so
353,
before we go on, he just read 35 square feet on the sign, and my piece of paper says 24.
I think they're including that header in the sign surface probably. So this is the sign
Yeah.
and that's the header. So the actual sign surface would probably be closer to 24 feet, and the header adds another 11 square feet or so.
Does that sound correct?
Yes.
All right, so
Okay.
this is the one at the quarter, 383. And then this is the one down at the elementary school. That's the one there now. And then that would be, so, I don't know what, so actually this, yeah, this would be the sign.
Yeah.
So it probably wouldn't be quite 35 feet.
No,
if-
I think it's.
Yeah, it's closer to 24 feet.
Okay.
Okay.
Are there any questions here at the board? Any comments from the public or Zoom? Okay. Want to entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the special permit for internally illuminated changeable message board sign of 24 feet, is that what it was? At 383 Boston Road and 24 square feet at 409 Boston Road, with the following conditions. 1, after installation, the planning board will review the lighting level and require adjustment if the level is found to interfere with traffic safety or found to not be appropriate for the surrounding residential structures and all landscapes. 2, final construction prints shall be submitted to the planning board to determine if they are substantially in accordance with the design and size presented at public hearing. If they are not, a new hearing will be required.
Second.
Any other discussion, comments? Roll call vote.
Bob Largis, no?
Bill Talcott, aye.
Scott Paul, aye.
Wally Baker, aye.
Mike Egan, aye.
Erica McCollum, aye.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Roll call.
Bob Largis, aye.
Bill Talcott, aye.
Scott Paul, aye.
Wally Baker, aye.
Mike Egan, aye.
Erica McCollum, aye.
Okay,
Good.
Thank you.
very good.
Thank you.
Just a little behind here. A and Rs, are there any A and Rs?
There are not.
Was it 15 Pleasant Valley Road, convenient MD, approve as-built plan?
We just need to do the as-built plan approval, and I believe that plan, I can't see the date on it. I don't know if you guys could see the date on that. So as you know, when we're done with any site plan, an as-built has to be submitted. Shows the building locations, all the utility locations, basically, and then I actually have to go out there and count parking spaces and the number of landscape plants and stuff on the site as well. So, and Graves Engineering goes out and checks everything as well. So that has all been checked, and it's all set to be approved. I just didn't have the date on that.
Right.
So typically, Jen, what does Graves do? Like, they don't eat it to death, they just look at elevations and,
Yeah, so on as-built, the engineer is required to submit, and they did submit a statement that the site has been constructed substantially in accordance with the approved plans. And then they submit the accompanying plan. So Graves Engineering will basically check all of the utility, look, mainly drainage stuff and locations. And if anything looks off, they will do some kind of verification. They'll usually just reach out to the engineer and have them bring over something like, survey equipment or whatever. Rarely happens. The engineers tend to stay pretty close, and if they want a field change, we hear about field changes typically in advance, and those are approved in advance. So the as-built usually pulls in any field changes that are made, and you'll see that. There were no field changes on this plan.
Well, the primary thing that I noticed was that the sewer and the water line was connected through Galaxy Pass property instead of running down Pleasant Valley Road,
Yep. So a deal must have been made.
which is fine, right?
yeah.
So do we have to make a motion on this?
Yeah,
or what?
motion to approve the as-built plan, yes, with the appropriate date.
Well, I'd say it's a pretty good-looking as-built compared to some of the things we've seen here, so. Is a motion to approve or accept the Sutton Medical Center as-built drawings?
What's the date on that, Scott?
Drawing. What's the date on this? Is
I don't see a date,
I don't see a date.
undated.
undated. I don't know if that's an issue,
They
but
could use a date.
It needs a date.
There is no date.
Dates would be
There is
good.
no
Date to be added. I have a submission date I can stamp on there, but
It's one sheet, and it should have a date on it.
all right.
Nope, checked it.
There's a motion.
so can we do that without a date, or is that something that would hold it up?
No, I mean, you can do it with condition on the date to be added, and then I will verify that it's the exact same plan.
Just make it a
Yes.
condition, yeah.
Did you make a motion?
It was what was in his cover letter? I think he had a date in his cover letter.
The cover letter is
Nick, when is
dated
it?
September 30th, 2024.
But then it said revision dated 12/18. No, it's the first one at 12/20, get that.
Revision number 7, so they should put all that. That's not on the drawing either. There is revision spots on here with no dates, no initials, no comments. They should fill in the title block would be good.
Well, revision 7 was on the original site plan. The as-built should just have one date, and it should probably be this September 30th date.
That would be good.
Yeah, because that's the date of the letter, so it should be that same date. 9/30/24.
That's the date you think?
So we'll have him add that date to
Okay.
the plan, unless he has some reason why he wants it needs to be a different date.
So I'll make that motion to approve the as-built plan dated 9/30/24, subject to a verification of that with you, Jen, if you know.
Okay.
For Convenient MD at 15 Pleasant Valley Road.
Second.
Any other comments? Roll call vote.
Bob Rogers, aye.
Bill Talcott, aye.
Scott Paul, aye.
Wally Baker, aye.
Mike Gagan, aye.
Erica McCollum, aye.
Well, if it's not a hearing, we'll go on to the next item, which is
184.
84 Worcester Providence Turnpike. Waiver of site plan review for Acrisure.
I believe, Lexi, are you here for that agenda item?
Yes, hi.
Lexi, do you have the ability to turn on your camera, or are you by phone?
I'm by my phone.
Okay, that's okay.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. All right, Lexi, if you can just explain to the board what your business is, approximately how long you've been in town. This is one of the ones where they applied for a business sign change, and the board had not approved the business to be at the location. So they have submitted the waiver of site plan review, and Lexi is here to address that.
Yeah, I also, yeah, so we're just replacing the sign. There's no sign there right now. It was knocked down, so we're replacing it with, we have the, artwork.
Lexi, what the board needs to know tonight is
Sorry.
they need to know about the business itself. This business was never permitted by the town through the planning board, so that is what is before the board tonight.
Okay.
So there was a previous use of this building. Your business is a new use of the building that requires at least a waiver of site plan review. And so if you could just tell the board about the business, what you do, about how many people, hours of operation, and the like.
Yeah, it's an insurance agency. I'm not exactly sure of the hours and that specific information. We're the tenant of the building. I guess we're an insurance agency, and we just want to change the signage of.
So Lexi, do you work for the sign company or the insurance agency?
Insurance agency.
All right, so how many people are at this location every day, and what kind of insurance are you issuing?
I believe there are 2 people at that location, and but I'm not exactly sure of the specifics of that agency. We're the Acrisure is the insurance broker, or we're their insurance broker.
Okay.
Or we own the Acrisure owns the. I'm not exactly sure of the specifics. I guess that I wasn't entirely prepared for what you were going to ask today.
All right, well, we do need to know the specifics of this location, what's happening at this location, how many people are at this location, their hours of operation, in order for the board to grant the waiver of site plan review, and then allow them to apply for any sign changes. So perhaps we can just continue this to the next meeting, and maybe you can get together with the applicant at this site and make sure the appropriate people are at the next meeting, the actual site-specific people who are operating this site.
So, yeah, because we're located in Michigan, and Nate, I don't know if you have any other useful information to add here. I have someone else on my team here with me, but I think that what the information that you're looking for, we might need to get someone from that office, because we're not even in the state of Massachusetts.
So we'll move it to the next meeting.
Currently, this was a house before?
Was a house before, I believe, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
prior use, current use, hours of operation, number of employees, kind of exactly what happens on the site during the day. That's what the board needs to know.
Traffic.
So I'm looking at an email from just an agency, not a particular individual, to the town of Sutton. So it really doesn't have any persons attached to this information, so I think we need some person to be attached to the information we're looking for. So let's move this to
So
the
like
next.
if there's a manager at the site, that should be the person that attends the meeting, whoever's kind of in charge of things at the site.
Okay.
Okay, so, we do have an application, Brian Beakey from KevCon, the owner signed, and then I see that's you, Lexi, that, signed on behalf of the owner. Or actually,
The
right,
applicant.
on behalf of Acrisure. But yeah, what we need is the actual person who operates that site, who can give us the details.
Through the chair, and don't buy a sign
Yeah.
That's why I signed,
Make,
right?
we have to make contact to who's there.
I think we need to
Thank you.
approve the use of this building, the change of use first, so I
Right.
wouldn't buy a sign yet, right?
Okay, so we're gonna pop you to the next available meeting, and if you can verify with us that the actual manager and/or operator of this site will be present at the next meeting, and they can give me a call or email me, and if they have any questions about what they need to be prepared to speak about.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you. Next item is 18 and 20 Fuller Road, Hamlet's Way, endorsed definitive subdivision plan.
All right, so you have a whole bunch of plastic plans there. Those are the final plans for Hamlet Estates as approved by the board, and they also contain all the conditions of approval and the waivers granted. Several of those sheets are recorded at the Registry of Deeds, including the waivers and the condition sheets. And then there's a few sheets there that are not recorded. They are just the construction detail plans, but they all need to be signed so that as the project moves forward, we're all working off the same set of plans. Nobody can pull another set and go, oh, this is my
The
set.
board needs to sign those plans before we leave
Yep,
tonight.
so that's just a motion to endorse, and then you do have there should be a plan date on those as well, Bill, the plastic set, the Mylars.
Do we need to vote to sign them?
Yep, to endorse the definitive subdivision plan.
All right, so we need a motion to endorse the,
We just need to have him check the date. The date here is March 27th. I don't know if there's something after that. 2024.
March 27th.
All right. So the
So
plan.
I will make a motion to endorse the definitive subdivision plan dated March 27, 2024 for Hamlet's Way.
And there were
Second.
no revision dates at all?
I'll let Scott handle that, that's in his field.
I don't see a revision date.
Okay. All righty.
Do that at the end of the meeting?
Yeah, you can, yeah.
Right.
Just the motion now would be good.
Okay,
So Mike, you made the motion?
Yes.
second, if the dates are right.
Here's a revision date, sorry, here it is. September 6, 2024.
9/6/24.
24.
Okay.
I update my motion to include that date.
9/6/24.
Yes.
Original date 3/27/24, revised 9/6/24.
Yes.
And you have a second?
Yep, Bob is the second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Bob Largis, aye.
Bill Talcott, aye.
Scott Paul, aye.
Wally Baker, aye.
Mike Gagan, aye.
Erica McCollum, aye.
Okay. So we gotta sign them before we leave.
Yes, don't forget.
Next item is 3 Lackey Dam Road Special Permit Extension.
Good
Go
evening,
ahead.
Mr. Chairman.
Introduce yourself.
Sure. Attorney Todd Broder from Fletcher Tilton here on behalf of the applicant. It's nice to be back in front of you. So we sent in a letter supporting this request, but essentially, you know, as you recall, we permitted 2 separate warehouse projects. This is the smaller of the 2 projects, which is up against kind of Oakhurst Road and Lackey Dam. This was the 180,000 square foot or so building. It's been 2 years, believe it or not, and as I'm probably aware, your special permits and other approvals apply, they terminate, really, they expire after the 2 years. So we're here seeking an extension of those permits. And, you know, just for kind of, you know, background on why, I think, you know, it's not really a surprise, but the warehouse market kind of changed a little bit. The price of construction kept going up, interest rates kept going up, everything kind of kept going in a bad direction for this particular project to progress. And though Skinnell is committed to the site and development of the site, that just hasn't happened yet. So they're seeking 2 years, which is, I think, the maximum that the board can allow. And I think the rationale for it is these projects also don't come through the pipeline very quickly. when they get interest, or they understand they may have interest, they start moving forward, but it does take some time, to really get going. So they're seeking the 2-year extension of all the permits, the special permits, and site plan approval, and the earth removal operation permit.
So I believe the earth removal was just an exemption.
I think so too.
So that one
We're
doesn't
just
need
sort of
a
covering all
grant.
of our bases here, yeah.
Yeah, the exemption doesn't need an extension. Once you're exempt, you're exempt.
Great.
So, so that would be the use, which is warehouse with distribution, the height exceedance to 45 feet, special permit, and the site plan approval.
And at this point, the site nothing's been done on the site.
Correct.
No earth removal, no cutting trees, no, okay.
My understanding, they've done nothing on the
Okay.
site.
It's 2 years is unusual. 1 year is the norm, but the board obviously can go up to 2 per the bylaw.
Can we keep extending and extending?
Up to 2 years at a time, yeah.
We can do 2, okay, I just want to make sure we can go out, and then in 2 years say we can't do it anymore. I want to make sure I hope things get different.
Yeah, the applicant does as
Yeah.
well. I mean, they have had luck with the first building, McKesson's in there now well, not in there yet, but, they're building, and they're working in there. And that's a great sign. That was a significant portion of that first building. They have had a fair amount of interest, and this project has garnered a fair amount of interest, but it just hasn't quite gotten there yet.
So the bigger building has that tenant, it's about, what, 75% of that building, something like that?
Yeah, 420,000 square feet or so of the 620,000 square foot
Okay.
building.
About
And that,
2/3.
and that's underway, that tenant's underway, moving in.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
McKesson Meadows.
I mean, I would just add, I think I'd be willing to go out to 2 years. I think this, development team, we've certainly had them in front of us many times, and they've always come forward with what's happening and what's next, so I would personally think going out 2 years to give them a chance to keep it going,
Is that a motion?
I would just a suggestion, if anyone else has different timeline, but I will make that motion if needed.
I second
Fine.
it.
That'd be good.
Bill, do you have anything that you wanna? Okay. So let me just see I will make a motion to grant for 24 months or extension for the warehouse with distribution use, height exceeding to 45 special permits and site plan approval for 3 Lackey Dam Road.
Second.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Bob Largis, aye.
Bill Talcott, aye.
Scott Paul, aye.
Wally Baker, aye.
Mike Gagan, aye.
Erica McCollum, aye.
Thank you all very much.
Okay.
Good
Thank
luck.
you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
All right, that's, Forest Edge update.
Okay, so you have the letter you requested me to send at the last meeting. We were a little occupied with town meeting, so that letter did not go out until late. That did not go out till Friday. So Scott and I worked on that, and you have the copy of that letter. John Bruce has acknowledged the letter, but of course, because it went out so late on Friday, he has not had sufficient time to review that, of course. So, we did also receive right before the meeting, we received, so I have not had the ability to provide it to you. The association has hired a consultant who has reviewed the site for deviations from original site plan, so they did submit a report on what their consultant found. Additional concerns beyond the ones we're addressing, so I will provide that to you as well. So, it's feeling like we might just need a Forest Edge meeting. And maybe that happens at the next board meeting.
I mean, I would say I think the letter was well-written by you and Scott. I mean,
Yeah, it
I
was.
thought it was, very concise and you know,
Sweet, to the point.
yeah.
Well, it needs to be to the point, because now there's also legal people involved on some of this stuff that's going on, so.
Both sides now.
And I'm reading Mr. Bruce's October 6th correspondence, talking about he's expecting direction from and guidance from our town engineer on various items. I don't know when this should stop.
Does he want us to do the work?
Well,
Yeah. Is that what he wants?
well, the problem is, well, it's pieces,
mean-
and, you know, we always try to kind of, in everybody's interest, to negotiate kind of the ability to move forward. There's people with flooded basements, there's, you know, flooded yards, but most importantly, flooded basements, and just not use of people's property, and, you know, so we're trying to fix these things. And, you know, we have agreed that in the past, we've sat down, myself, the building commissioner, Jeff Walsh, the association's contract. You know, we're working each day and outside of board meetings to try to settle these issues. So there was a, you know, the developer said, look, you know, I didn't do this main drainage area, I will provide a plan for that. He did provide a plan for that, and Graves Engineering reviewed that plan for that immediate area and said, you know, there's the, you know, the calculations you show and what you show, you know, they technically work for that immediate area. They did provide some drainage within the last week or two of the area behind units 44, 46, which are the units kind of perpendicular to these as you come up that first corner on your right, and that have a mound behind them now. That was not part of the approved plan. And just my discussion with Graves last week is, in isolation, those numbers look like they might work as well. The problem is in isolation, whereas the Graves letter of August 13th, I think 13th was the date, basically told about the issues as a whole. So while the developer stands ready to do what he showed in this plan and this plan, the problem is if you just do this and you just do this and you don't do anything else, it doesn't work. So that's the problem. There was a riprap channel installed after the developer was specifically told by myself and the building commissioner not to install any more riprap on the site. And he said to both of us that he would model it, do drainage calcs with and without that riprap. And I said, okay, that's good. If we find that that should be removed, absolutely should be removed, I'll let you know. So, and now you'll see in the letters, I'm waiting for you to tell me with or without. Well, you were told not to put it in, you know, and you said you would model it with and without. You know, I'm happy to say model it without, because that's a maintenance nightmare, which is why you were told not to put it in the first place.
And I think this is part of our frustration. Don't look at the planning board to come up with a design or a solution for your project.
Yeah.
You had a design, it was approved, it wasn't built that way, it needs to get built and fixed properly. I don't think we should do much more than that.
No.
So, we'll move on. We got the letter, we sent the letter.
Okay.
He's waiting for direction. The planning board, if the planning board.
I'm happy to tell him to take out, again, he was told not to put in the thing, he put in the thing. He said he would model it both ways, and I said, fine,
And has he?
model it both
Where's
ways.
the answer? Where's
No,
the
I-
answer?
I don't have the model for both ways,
Where's the answer?
but
Why don't you go back to the original plan?
Yeah, you know.
He didn't build to the original plan, is my understanding. End of story.
Apparently advised me how to proceed.
And guess what's just around the corner? Won't be able to do anything for the next 5 months, as he's said in his letter.
okay. All right, so,
It's like the paving plants are closed, I can't do anything. All right, any other action items?
no,
Motion to close, oh wait, what else do we have? We got approved
Approve the
minutes?
meetings.
Wait a minute.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of 10/16/24.
I'll second that.
Just let Erica second that, because she can actually second this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I withdraw my second.
Well, I mean, I'm just teasing you. You will need to vote this one, Erica, though,
I
okay,
know.
please?
Right, sorry.
Okay.
Second by Mike.
All right, motion to approve October 16th meeting minutes. Roll call.
Bob Lodges, aye.
Bill Talcott, abstain.
Scott Paul, aye.
Wally Baker, aye.
Mike Gagan, aye.
Erica McCollum, aye.
Any filings? No. Site visits? No. Abutting town notices? No. Correspondence?
Nope.
No.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Well, we did have one piece about the draft.
Oh, the draft
Oh, the
minutes.
draft, yeah,
Aren't
so
we
take
supposed
a
to
look
bring
at
that
that
up?
schedule.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
If you see any immediate issues, let me know. Otherwise, we want to pin that down so we can get that to Pam and Christine ASAP. Okay? Thank you for bringing that up. We will appreciate that.
So we think it should be okay? The
As of
schedule?
now,
We try to.
Good as any, right?
Yeah, we try to keep it, mirroring the year before,
That's
unless
fine.
something shifts into a weird spot.
Understood. All right?
Yep.
So wanna
Awesome.
Close our hearing, our meeting.
Need a second?
I'll make the motion to close the,
I had a Wally Baker
oh, Wally did
motion.
make it,
Right,
sorry.
so
Okay.
I'll second it at 8:30.
All in favor?
Aye. Bob Lodges.
Bill Talcott, aye.
Scott Paul, aye.
Wally Baker, aye.
Mike Gagan, aye.
Erica McCollum, aye.